Listen up, folks. All of the signs that we're seeing right now are pointing to the fact that it appears that AOC is probably going to run for president in 2028. But here's the reality. The reality is we know the Democratic National Committee are not going to allow AOC to be the nominee. We already know this. How do we know this? Because she's taking grassroots donations, because she's not signed on with AIPAC, she's not taking money from big money lobbyists, that type of thing. So this is what we know, right? And I worry because I see it happening all over again, where people are getting excited about her, just like they did about Bernie, just like I did about Bernie, like some of you did about Bernie, only to be let down in the end because the DNC picks the nominee and the DNC wants someone who is status quo. Don't believe me? That's where this seems to be heading. Check this out. Do you guys see that AOC raised $9.6 million in 3 months, smashing her own record? She raised $9.6 million. It says it here. She raised $9.6 million in the first 3 months of the year, more than doubled her second highest quarter, a massive haul that comes amid increasing calls by progressives for her to mount a 2028 primary challenge against Senator Minority Leader Chuck Schumer. Like, people have been calling for her to run against Chuck Schumer, but I don't think that's where this is headed. AOC, who now has more than $8 million in cash on hand, has spent recent weeks barnstorming the country with Bernie Sanders. So here's the thing, folks. When you are in a safe district, which she is, you don't raise that kind of money unless you're trying to pursue something bigger. Because she doesn't need it. She doesn't need that type of money, right? Now that I have said that, I told you guys before, people were asking, like, what are Bernie and AOC asking people to do as a part of these rallies, right? They don't really come out and specifically say that. And that's because I believe this oligarchy tour is basically Bernie Sanders' way of passing the mantle to AOC. This is AOC's possible presidential tour. Bernie's not doing all the speaking. She's doing some of the speaking too. And I think that's what's happening here. I mean, everybody knows Bernie Sanders is not going to run for president again. Don't believe me? Check out this ad. She already has an ad that plays like a presidential ad.
This movement is not about partisan labels or purity tests. It's about class solidarity. It is about the thousands of you who came out here today to stand together and say our lives deserve dignity and our work deserves respect. Because it will never be just institutions and officials alone that uphold our democracy. It will always be the people, the masses, who refuse to comply with authoritarian regimes, who are the last and strongest defense of our country and our freedoms. We are at a crossroads, oligarchy or democracy, but we cannot have both. Los Angeles, I've made my choice. We must fight the oligarchy that has created this nightmare.
But not the Democratic Party's oligarchy. See, this is the problem, right? Like, yeah, you should fight back against Trump and Elon Musk. You should fight back against all the billionaires. But the problem is, right? Kamala Harris supports oligarchy. Kamala Harris was a corporate candidate. AOC and Bernie Sanders endorsed her. When Biden was still in the race, they endorsed Joe Biden. So part of the reason why we got into this mess in the first damn place is because the Democratic Party is not a truly opposition party. The Democratic Party should be a grassroots funded party, not taking corporate money. And then you would be a true opposition to the Republican Party, but you're not. How are you a true opposition to the Republican Party when you got Democrats voting along with Republicans? How are you a true opposition to the Republican Party when you have Democrats voting with Republicans to censure other Democrats? You see, Chuck Schumer pulled the mask off for a lot of people, but many of us have been paying attention for quite some time. They've been doing this, folks. It's just that Chuck Schumer's vote captured mainstream media attention. But AOC and other squad members along the way have also been voting against their own base and values on key pieces of legislation where it could have made a difference. So as you see this ad, does this not kind of remind you of a presidential ad?
And that is why I have never taken money from lobbyists or corporations, and it's why I never will. But beyond elections, our task is to build community, block associations, volunteer groups, church organizations, PTAs, activist organizations, because community is the most powerful building block we have to defeat authoritarianism and root out corruption. This is the path to guaranteeing health care to every American, to establish a living minimum wage, to take on skyrocketing rents and mortgages, to tackle the climate crisis, and establish a country where the American dream is actually possible for all of us. Because we know, Los Angeles, that a better world is possible, and we are willing to do something about it.
You see this, guys? Yeah. See, so it's speaking just like that. And yeah, she'll be old enough. She might already be old enough now to run, but she will be, right? You see it here where she's in Montana at Missoula.
Stitching together all of these unlikely places, quote unquote, right, across the country, whether it's Idaho or Utah or Folsom, and now here in Missoula, we're sending a very strong message, and they are getting nervous. What this is that, you know, in many ways, this is something that transcends party, it transcends partisanship. This is the makings of a mass movement. These are the makings of a populist uprising.
So you see, she's calling it a populist uprising, right? Now, why is that important? If you saw the debate between me and Cenk Uygur, remember what he said. He's starting a new populist movement. So similar to Justice Democrats, but a different name and under a different thing right here. Don't believe me? Watch how Bernie kind of passes, in a way, he kind of passes the torch over to her.
All right, y'all. So I'm calling it now. AOC is running for president.
Oh, sorry. This is the Nico part. Yes. Nico really kind of lays this all out. I think he did a really brilliant job. Check this out.
All right, y'all. So I'm calling it now. AOC is running for president, and it's a problem that we need to talk about. Now, I know many of you are probably thinking, how the hell could you know if she's running for president in 2028 and 2025? Now, if you've been following me for a while, then you remember I predicted that Tulsi Gabbard was going to run in 2020 in 2017. I predicted Kamala was going to run in 2020 in early 2017 before they released the information about her meeting in the Hamptons. I also predicted that Bernie would be running in 2020, even though many people thought that he would sit out once they found out Tulsi Gabbard was going to run. Now, the reason I was able to predict all these presidential candidates running years before they actually announced is because there are a set of very specific metrics that you can actually look at to figure out what someone's intentions are politically as it pertains to running for president. In the case of AOC, she's been touring the country with Bernie Sanders, has done at least 13 major rallies for this Fighting the Oligarchy campaign, which doesn't really make any sense because her district is in New York and she is safe. So why would you be touring the country while there's a President Trump in power?
And have you guys also noticed that none of the other members of the squad joined Bernie Sanders on this oligarchy tour? It's her. So pay attention to that.
Instead of whenever there was a Biden in power, for example. And why specifically would you be touring the country with Bernie Sanders, who obviously was one of the most popular presidential candidates in history? She hasn't really introduced any new legislation. Bernie hasn't really introduced any new legislation. They're not actually trying to galvanize people behind a very specific cause outside of this general idea of fighting the oligarchy. And to be very frank, these tours will not change anything at this very moment. But it does let a lot of people know who one of the most popular quote unquote progressive candidates in history is probably standing behind if she were to run for president. On top of that, AOC has ramped up her television interviews since the start of January 2025. Just like Kamala did, just like Tulsi did, and just like Bernie did whenever they ran for president in 2020. They're even saying that AOC is quote-unquote non-committal to a presidential run, and that her decision will be based on whether or not the Democratic Party is running someone progressive enough for her liking. Now, obviously, fundraising isn't strange, but going out of your way to fundraise so much is strange when, once again, you're in a clearly safe district in.
Yeah, and she's raised like over 9 million. Like, Nico's correct here.
No one looks like they're going to touch you there. It's because you're filling your coffers. And donations aren't really just a metric to figure out how much you can spend, but it's also a metric to gauge interest and know just how committed people are to you if you do decide to run. And I want to be perfectly clear. When she announces every actual anti-war independent leftist needs to loudly scream, fuck no. We will not allow another fake progressive to run in the Democratic Party that's already preparing to screw her over, steal millions of dollars from working class people, pretending like she has a chance to win, you know, like Bernie did, pretending she's going to fight the ruling class, when in actuality, she just had the last 4 years to do a fighting the oligarchy campaign rally across the country and didn't do a motherfucking thing. If you couldn't challenge the Democratic Party while they were actively financing and supporting genocide, why in the hell would we believe that you would fight on behalf of the people and challenge the Democratic Party if you were to sit in the Oval Office?
She is working tirelessly to secure a ceasefire in Gaza and bringing hostages home.
This is one of the scarier parts for me, and this is why I do get really concerned when I hear people say they want to vote for her or whatever, because I think people are going to forget. I think 2028 people are not going to remember her making this statement, which was a lie, which even Ilhan Omar called her out on that statement, right? The thing that scares me so much about this with AOC is that I see her doing some of the same things that Barack Obama did. I see AOC trying to charm people just like Barack Obama did. AOC tends to show up to say all the right things at the right time. I remember Obama talked about remember Obama said time for a change in the wars in the Middle East. I remember all of these things. And that is what irks me about this. Because what I think is that AOC is a female Barack Obama in the making, where she starts off with good, like progressive, like policies, etc. But she's already wavered on key things, right? Like we saw her do the webinar conflating anti-Zionism with anti-Semitism. She was willing to do that. That's why AIPAC didn't come after her like they did Jamal Bowman and Cori Bush. We saw her cave on the Iron Dome vote. We saw her this lie here, working tirelessly for a ceasefire. Even her own comrade had to call her out on that. They've been trying to make AOC a thing since she got into Congress. I'm trying to tell you guys, this is the same person who told you that she didn't care if she was a one-term congressperson. But now she seemed to be on the path to run for president.
You wouldn't stand up for Tara Reid just because Joe Biden was running as a Democrat.
Well, I think a lot of what we can look for is look at the aims that the survivor is asking for. And while a lot of folks, again, are trying to jump to the political implications, she has never explicitly said, don't support Joe Biden. She hasn't explicitly said anything in terms of a political remedy that she wants. If anything, it sounds like she simply wants to be heard.
You wouldn't admit that Bernie Sanders, Tulsi Gabbard, and other candidates were getting cheated just because you didn't want to challenge the Democratic Party directly. You wouldn't call out the corrupt process for the Democratic primary this year. You went out there and spoke at a Democratic National Convention that didn't let a Palestinian speak because they were scared they were going to bring up genocide, after you, by the way, said that you know that there are a lot of people who don't even want Kamala to be a nominee, and yet you went along with it all. You didn't want to call out the Democratic Party as they were pushing to fund neo-Nazis in Ukraine. You didn't want to call out Joe Biden as he militarized the police state in ways that we had never seen before. And then you went and lied on Jill Stein.
That part right there. And I don't want people to forget about that. The lies that she told about Jill Stein, that was a snake. For people who don't know, you know how AOC won her first term? You know how she won? It was Green Party members who helped her. It was Green Party members who canvassed and knocked on doors. That's how she won. That's who helped AOC win in that district. And then what does she turn and do? Now that she's comfortable, she smears the Green Party. Now, see, AOC is not going to tell you that. That's why I have to tell you that, because a lot of people don't realize that.
Because you deem her as a threat, even though you supposedly support the same progressive policies that she has advocated for.
You're not serious. You're not to me, it does not read as authentic. It reads as predatory. I'm sorry. I'm just saying it.
I mean, you couldn't show a single lick of conviction while you had no power and nothing to lose, really. So why the fuck would we vote for you and give you power? How the hell would you act when you have everything to lose? So as we would say in Brazil, no caia esse golpe. Do not fall for the scam. Fool us once, shame on you. Fool us twice, shame on us. But if we let AOC fool us for a third time, it's y'all's fault. So the time to start campaigning against her is now. And what you tell people to do is invest in mutual aid, invest in direct action. Do not support the duopoly. When they tell you, well, then who would you support? Boost up third parties. Do literally anything but donate money to AOC in the Democratic Party. And of course, don't donate money to the Republican Party either. It's time for us to take our power back, and we're not going to gain that power through supporting fake ass leftist fucking cosplay candidates like AOC.
This is the story. 6 years ago,
yeah, I think Nico really lit the fire, right? He really lit the fire. The thing is this, folks. I think they kind of wrote this, right? This is written, but here's the reality. The DNC is not going to let her be the nominee. You're going to end up with the same issue that you have with Bernie Sanders. So all that money and energy will be thrown towards AOC. And then they're going to tell you same thing. I know I didn't become the nominee, but go ahead and support the corporate Democrat that the DNC chose. That's what it's going to lead to. And this cycle will just continue. And it makes sense they would pick someone like AOC. She's one of the perfect people to pick to sheep herd people into the Democratic Party because she's popular. Think about these things. So Nico's right. When say what else you should be doing, we should be doing mutual aid, building more mutual aid chapters, which I do here. And we do over at RBN. The mutual aid workshop will be next Saturday, by the way. I'll give you more information about that next time I go live so that you can join the mutual aid workshop so you can start mutual aid chapters where you are. Guys, the president of the United States is not going to get us out of this shithole. No, a politician alone is not going to save you. We have to save each other. That's the same for her too. So people got to realize that. Now, if you do want to vote, I say vote third party. Nico's right. We really got to break this duopoly. It's got to go. Vote third party, vote independent, however you want to do this. But I'm trying to tell you guys, and I'm calling it right now. I don't trust this at all. And I'm calling what I did not see with Bernie. I'm calling it with AOC. I didn't see this with Bernie going back 2016, 2020. I found out after the time. That this type of behavior, you look at Bernie Sanders' rally here, where the protesters pulled out. Now people are saying, oh no, they're pulling her out. But who could have stopped this? Bernie and AOC could have stopped this. Look.
We have more income.
So the police are taking her out because she has a Free Palestine banner, and they're trying to remove her because of that, right? Isn't this insane? So what should have happened there is Bernie Sanders has the microphone at that point in time. He could have told them, let her be. Let her be. Leave her alone. You're seeing them being pulled. We saw them pulled out of Biden rallies, right? Biden events and Kamala rallies, and we see them pulled out of Trump stuff and all. We saw that. But now you're seeing it happen to Bernie and AOC rallies. And Bernie still won't even call it a genocide till this day. So I'm trying to show you where this is all going. We really, really do have to pay attention here. And then this part, this is really interesting. I'm trying to show you what the Democratic Party is going to do. They already talking about it now. They making fun of even David Hogg, right? Who came on to talk about things need to change in the Democratic Party. Watch how they pick. I'm trying to show you guys. This is a repeat of 2020 all over again. Listen.
Insane or intuitive? Tonight, Democrats are fighting over one high-profile party leader's plan to primary their own. David Hogg is a Parkland survivor and now a vice chair of the Democratic National Committee. He's also the head of a PAC that is putting $20 million behind an effort to replace Democratic lawmakers that Hogg sees as, quote, ineffective, asleep at the wheel members with Democrats who have the energy, passion, and vision to meet this moment with the urgency our country deserves. Now, the idea does not seem like it's going to win Hogg any popularity contests among his Democratic peers.
If you were an effective leader and you're listening to this right now and you're a member of Congress, you have nothing to be worried about. And if this brings you anxiety, you should ask yourself why that is, because there are young people out there ready to meet this moment, and our party must do a better job to show our young people that we're here to win them back. And look, I know that what I'm doing here isn't going to make everybody happy, but I'm not here to make everybody happy. I am here to win.
Mandela,
you'll be gone or you'll fall in line. He'll be gone or he'll fall in line. Listen to what they say.
Dream for the Republican Party.
What is the Democratic Party vice chair doing with a PAC to take out Democrats?
I will say nobody's entitled to any position. Yeah. And you know what? Nobody, I'm just going to say nobody's entitled to any position that they're in, right? Like, and he's not going to make friends by, launching this endeavor. But the fact is, there are problems, there are challenges that we have as a party and things that do need to be addressed. The favorability of congressional Democrats is lower.
Is this the way to do it?
I'm not going to say if that's the way to do it or not.
I mean, you got to say something.
Hey, look, but I'll tell you, I got into politics.
See, they don't want change. That's the problem. This was part of the problem Bernie had. Corporate media was against him. That they don't want this. They don't want change. They want to protect the status quo.
Saying you're not in an elected position right now.
I know, but I got into elected office by primarying somebody.
Right.
That's how I got into office. So I'm not.
Nobody is saying don't primary somebody. I think the question is, Democrats have a lot of problems. Is the issue really taking out their own or adding to their numbers? Is it addition or is it subtraction?
I think the Democrats would benefit from some new energy, quite frankly. And
we love the fact that two Democrats going at each other.
Let me just tell you something. I don't really care what Republicans love or Democrats love. My only point, I'm not a party loyalist. I'm a people loyalist. And the people right now are frightened and upset. And it used to be, one party's playing chess and we're playing checkers. Right now, one party is playing checkers and the Democrats look like they're going up against somebody playing Grand Theft Auto. They are completely out of their element. And it is frustrating from Chuck Schumer's vote. And they are institutionalists who believe in in the party of yesteryear, the goodness of the party of yesteryear, which is Black folks I ain't never believed in. So I do think there are members who die in their seats. They do need to tee up a younger generation of people. And I think a lot of the lack of support that Democrats are getting across the board right now is because a lot of people do not see them pushing back and fighting back against a rising authoritarian government. And if David Hogue wants to go after and do that, I applaud him. Like you said, nobody is entitled to elected position.
That is really what Justice Democrats was supposed to do, right? It was supposed to be a hostile takeover, what David Hogue is talking about. But the people at this table, it's like oh my God. It's like they're just like, how dare he even say that? You can't just tell people to get out. I told you guys, all of them need to go. All of them. Everybody, all of Congress need to be wiped clean and start all over. It's too corrupt, too much corruption, too much big money running around. All of it need to be wiped out. All of it. And I'd love to see more independents in Congress. I'd love to see Green Party candidates in Congress. I'd love to see those type, like it need to mix it up. Mix it up. But they don't. This is the problem. Again, what I'm saying, that's what AOC is going to run into. This problem right here.
How are you going to add to the numbers? Because at the end of the day, you have to add.
You do.
Politics is now.
The biggest number we need to add is the number of people who are voting for us. And if we can inspire confidence in the voting public, if people are showing up excited to vote for Democrats, not just to vote against Donald Trump, I think we're in a much better place.
Johnson is doing cartwheels. I can't believe the Democrat Party elected this young man to be as a vice chair, because anybody who says we're going to fight each other, we're going to eat our own.
Well, Donald Trump just purged everybody and took over it. Donald Trump just took a hostile.
See that? Anybody that says we need to fight each other, we need to eat our own, like, of course, they're against this, right? Like, they're like, how dare they even pursue this type of thing? That's what someone like AOC would be up against. If the primary is AOC, Wes Moore, Gretchen Whitmer, probably even Cory Booker's crazier ass, he'd probably be up there too. 9 times out of 10, the DNC is probably going to pick Wes Moore, regardless of who people actually vote for, because we saw that happen in 2016 where they gave states that Bernie Sanders won to Hillary Clinton. And Bernie should have walked away from them back then. And said, yes, Chris Hedges, yes, Shama Sawant, yes, Jesse Ventura, I will start a third party movement with you. And we wouldn't be in this mess. I really do believe it, that if that would have started back then, that's almost 10 years ago, I think it would really be something strong today. I just don't want I don't want you guys to waste your fucking money. I don't want people to throw their money at another Bernie type presidential campaign when you know that that person is not going to be the nominee. Hey guys, this was a Sabby clip. If you like what you saw, hit that like button and subscribe.